Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Hey, good morning. How are you? Good morning, everybody. How are you? How are you? Good morning, Derek. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Donna, good morning to you. Hope you're having a great day. Early where you are, Derek. Early, early. Good morning, Donna. John, how are you? Good to see you. Bob Guiden, good morning, Bob. Priscilla, good morning to you. Great. I hope everybody's doing well today. Just got done dropping in with one of our folks that coordinates a meal for our local veterans group and shelter. They have a what's called a Pine Tree Veteran Center over here, Pine Street Veteran Center over here in Fall River that one of our folks, Edie, does a meal for, and Judy usually helps out with that, but Judy is actually in hospital today, so we will give a prayer for her. So please pray for Judy that she's getting some care, and but Edie came in and helped make the meal and sent over 40 meals to our local veterans that here in the city. And it's always fun to go down and help out a little bit. And when I say help out a little bit, I mean very little. Like I really didn't do a lot, but kind of some chance to spend some time with her and she's kind of doing great things. And you know, that quiet service that happens around church. It's always so beautiful. One of my most favorite things about being a part of a worshiping community is that all of these small graces that end up happening between people in church together or people extended mission work that never really gets mentioned much or never really, but people simply offering care and service and grace to others. So yeah, prayers for Judy. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. Good morning, Jamie. Hello. Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Let's get going. It is the second day of September at 11:11, and I am glad that you're here and a part of this journey. We are, last night we had an incredible storm. Good morning, Fannie Faye Davis. Cecile, good morning. Yes, hope everybody's safe after the storm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there was a good 6 inches of water all over pretty much everything here in the South Coast. And this is after last week and the hurricane that just glanced off as well. So we're 2 for 2 here in terms of getting some effect of these hurricanes. And of course, we look at this morning. We look at New York City and we look at the storm there, and we look at New Orleans and all of the damage. Though none of the levees failed, and so as much damage as there was with Ida coming ashore, there is much that was avoided there. So we are thankful for all of that. And there are people who today woke up to 2 feet of water in their basement and are struggling to deal with the challenges of all the storm that has happened. And so I want to talk about storms this morning because it seems that we are in the midst of so many of them. And it's, what are we to do with them? I think is a part of this question. And there are 2 great storms that we find in the Gospel of Mark, and they're Jesus amid the storm stories. So, and I always find this fascinating, and maybe you don't care, but you're listening to me, so maybe you do. And they're in the 4th chapter of Mark. Jesus calms the storm after this furious squall comes out, and Jesus is asleep on a cushion. He's on a little pillow. Like, I love the detail of the story. It has much to offer us. That Jesus is in the boat, the disciples in the boat. He says, let's go to the other side. They go to the other side. They're on their way to the other side, and this squall comes up. And if you've ever been offshore, if you've been and seen these things take place, they are as if another entity is involved. They're truly this the kind of, I say, Old Testament God kind of feeling, as if this thing this thing is coming for you. I can remember being offshore tuna fishing one time, and there was in the midst of this time that we have that I could see on the horizon this storm, and it was literally walking its way across the water to us. It was truly a sea monster, if ever there was one. And then it hit us, and we literally buttoned ourselves up down below, and 30-40 knot winds come screeching through, and then it was gone, as if it was truly an entity. And so we imagine in Jesus in the story with the disciples, and he is asleep on his pillow, his little my pillow, and he's all curled up, and he wakes, and the disciples wake him, and says, "Don't you care if we drown?" And he says, and he gets up, kind of grumpy, he rebuked them. He says, and said, "And be still," and the waters calm and are quiet. And they're completely calm. And he says, "Why are you so afraid? And why don't you have any faith?" Now, 2 chapters later, the disciples are still wandering around, and they're crossing back. They're crossing back over the lake. Still, the Gospel of Mark. Still, and again, he sends them on ahead. He says, "Hey, you guys go back across the lake, and I'll meet you there." They're not really sure how they're going to meet him there, but they head out, and again, this great storm comes up, and out of it comes Jesus walking on the water, catching up with them, because they've got this great headwind and they can't make any way. They can't get to the other shore because the wind is blowing so brutally at them. And he comes up and he climbs in the boat with them, and he says, "Take courage, don't be afraid." And he climbs into the boat, and then the wind dies. And again, they were completely amazed. These 2 stories are literally a couple pages from each other in Bible, and yet, while they obviously have a lot of similarities, there's still this difference. And yet, and Mark insists on driving home this image of Jesus who calms the storm in the midst of the storm. Jesus is the one who has mastery over the wind and the waves. And this is what they say in that 4th chapter. They say they were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." I set all that up. I offer you all of that to offer you to say, we are going to encounter these storms in our life. We're going to encounter storms on every level of our being. We're going to encounter storms intellectually. There's going to be things that we just don't understand. Maybe it's our encounter with evil. We don't understand them, and they hold us back from moving forward. There's going to be times of relationship turmoil. Though we're not always going to be in harmony with the people that we love, or our family, or the people that are around us. There will be stormy time. There'll be stormy times in our bodies. There'll be times that our bodies don't behave as they should. Where we are afflicted by a disease, or we're there may be storms in our greater world, in our greater polis, in the way that we come together as a people. And I think we can all say this has been a stormy time, even not just these past few weeks, but these past year, and the storm that we carry in these days. And I want to hold these two stories up for you this morning, because there's these two different images and these two different places Jesus is found in the storm. One is Jesus in the boat with him, and yet Jesus is asleep. This notion, and I think that as we encounter our storms, we need to always remember that God's presence isn't outside of us, isn't away from us, isn't separate from us. God's presence is in the boat with us. That just because it's not responding the way we believe it should respond is not a failure of God, nor is it a failure of Jesus. Just because Jesus is asleep on the pillow, just because there is a sense where we are crying out and it seems that there is quiet, and that question, it's so good. Teacher, don't you care if we drown? How often have we in our spiritual life said some variation, some formulation of that very phrase? Don't you care that I'm losing my job? Don't you care that I'm sick? Don't you care that our political world is blowing up? Don't you care that all of the brokenness of the world is at work? Don't you care, Jesus? And Jesus gets up, rebukes the wind and the waves, and says, "Be still, be quiet." This is a question that we encounter, and the thing is that Jesus gets up and he says, "Do you not have? Why are you so afraid? Do you not have any faith?" He said, and what Jesus demonstrates in this, and what is demonstrated in this, is that we can say that this way. You can say that, all they needed to, Jesus was always in the boat the whole time. All they needed to do was call on Jesus, and he would quiet the winds and the waves. We could frame it that way, and there's probably plenty of good messages out there that do frame it that way. Heck, I might have said one of them myself, but I submit it's actually more than that. Because Jesus questioned, why are you afraid? Why don't you have any faith? That the ultimate truth that he's talking to in this story is that all storms end. All storms end. All storms blow themselves out. As radical as it was last night here, as much rain as we did, I just looked on the little Fall River page that was full of flooded intersections, is now got pictures of, this intersection is clear. This intersection is clear. No storm rages forever. No storm can rage forever. And we can say, we just need to call on God to be with us in this, in our fear. And that's not untrue. But the wider truth that Jesus, I think, this story, that Mark highlights this, is that in the middle of the furious squall, in the middle of the water, in the middle of this place, the things that we think are out to get us are not outside of God's control. Whether we can see God at work on them or not. It's one of the big problems of the whole prosperity gospel thing of if you just pray hard enough, you get these blessings. And I'm not saying God doesn't want to give us blessings. God wants to give us all good things to his children. There's no question of that. But larger than that is somehow that it's dependent upon me. That somehow the order of these things are dependent upon whether or not I have the proper amount of that I can shake Jesus from his slumber in this sense. Hinduism has this god which is just hilarious. called Hanuman. Hanuman is the monkey god. Now, I don't mean to make fun of Hinduism. That's not my point. But Hanuman has this place where, see, Hanuman is a god, and Hanuman's actually a very powerful god. But the problem with Hanuman is he forgets that he's a god, and that he constantly needs to be reminded that he's a god. He's a monkey god. This is this monkey self, and what, you know, and I mean, that's a bizarre image that. But it is this. But I think it actually is, in some ways, is teaching a truth of, you know, this inversion that you know, we forget we are gods, not that we're, you know, we're big gods. It's that, but that we are God's own. We forget that we are in the boat with Jesus. We forget that, and that Jesus has it. That God has these struggles of our lives. God has these problems of our lives. Do we have an oar to pull on? Absolutely. Do we have to negotiate the boat? Absolutely. But at the end of it, Jesus is still in the boat. Whether we perceive Jesus to be asleep or awake or at work or not at work, God has the whole thing. You know, that old, you know, hippie Jesus song of he's got the whole world in his hands. Well, this, what Mark is talking about in the 4th chapter, this is the first thing, is he's saying God's got it. Jesus has it. And we need to live in such a way. We need to, that no matter how much the boat is rocking, no matter how much the wind is blowing, that to know that God has it. And that our running around the boat disrupting the divine order of things is actually less helpful than we think it is. Do we have to sail the boat? Absolutely. But the wind and the waves obey Jesus. That's the first story. The second story is this, that Jesus is not in the boat, but Jesus comes out of the storm. And there are ways, and the thing about this in the ancient world, and what they knew about the ancient world, and particularly what they knew in the ancient world about about things that come out of storms, is that they were always sea monsters. They were always things that were because they knew that the creation story says, you get it right out of Genesis, that in the depths of the waters, that's where the monsters live. That's where the Leviathan is. When they see Jesus coming out of the thing, they thought he was a ghost. They didn't think he was a ghost. They thought he was a sea monster. Okay? They thought he was a Leviathan. Ghost is our modern translation of like, oh, there was somebody from the dead coming back to like haunt them. No. The good ancients who all understood their own creation story, who all understood the fact that God had banished into the depths of hell, into the depths of Reese's, all of the monsters, and that the way you got there was either in the bowels of the earth, even in the deep depths of caves, or at the bottom of the sea. And that's where the monsters were, in the places of the darkness and the places of the unknown. Friends, what are we still scared of? We are scared of the dark, and we are scared of the unknown. This, you know, for being moderns and thinking we're all smart, none of this has gone away. In fact, it's even more exacerbated because we don't even have, we barely have context anymore for where the dragons live, for where the Leviathan will come from us. For them, it was wedded into the fabric of their world. For us, it's this notional idea that makes it all the more difficult to contend with. That there truly are Leviathans and monsters, that there truly are things that we must fight and contend with for the saving of all that is good. They saw Jesus. They saw not as a ghost. They saw Jesus and were terrified because they believed it was the very depths, the monsters of the depths of hell coming for them. And what does he say? Take courage. Before he says, be still and be quiet to the wind and water. But to this time, now he's addressing the disciples, and he tells the water to quiet, but he tells the disciples to take courage. Don't be afraid. And he climbs into the boat, and the wind dies. When he doesn't rebuke the wind here, because the wind just works for him. He gets into the boat, and the wind dies. Are you beginning to see it? In the first chapter, in the first telling of Jesus coming into the boat, we arrive at Jesus coming into the boat. Why? Or in the boat asleep, so that we might understand. God's grace and God's love and God's goodness for us. That we might understand that God has the winds and the water and the waves. That God has it, even though it doesn't always look like it in our life, even though it doesn't always look like it in our world, even though it looks like there are these great evils at work and there are these waves that would swamp us and drown us at any moment. God has it, whether we see God in action or not. And the second story, which only makes sense truly in context with the first story, is that God also has the sea monster. God is also in the very things that would destroy us. God is also in the things that invite us to have courage. To the very things that we are contending with in the world, God is in and with them too. And that when we bring the monsters of our lives into the boat, it permits the storm to end. You see, when Jesus climbs into the boat, this isn't their oh, thank God Jesus is here moment. This is their, oh my God, we're all going to die moment. And embracing the monster that is coming from the deep into their life. The early Puritans, and it goes way beyond them, but the early Puritans used to do this a lot. This was actually a part of their meditation, was the Memento Mori meditation. That to this notion that they would remember they would die. Any good educated Puritan or separatist would have a skull on their desk, any learned person, because they would, and it wasn't just a made up, it wasn't just a ceramic skull, it was like an actual person, a noggin, and they would keep that on their desk to meditate on the fact that they would one day be like that. They would understand that they would one day die, that they would take the monster of their own mortality and actually bring it into the boat, which gave them both courage, but it also allowed all the storms of their life to not look quite so bad. To not have for the wind that would blow us from this way and that way, from the wind that would hold us back, that was straining us to get to the next shore, that it would hold us and that it would release us from that we might make headway in this world. God is not only in the boat with us, whether he's away, whether we perceive him to be at work or whether we perceive him to be asleep on his pillow, doesn't matter. He's in the boat with us, and he controls the wind and the waves, and he controls the storms of our life. But he's also in the storm too. He's also in the midst of the difficulty too. And it's when we try to keep him out of the boat, or when we try to wake him up and think that God isn't doing his job, or when we think that there is actually something out there that's going to destroy us that isn't the divine. My friend Fannie Faye Davis is very fond of saying that her true belief that every problem comes bearing its own solution. Well, in many ways, this is what that second story is telling us, or what these two stories are telling us about how we should contend with storms, because the solutions are already present. The things that we think are coming at us out of the unknown that are going to destroy us are actually the things that, when we embrace them, when we in good Jungian form take our, the shadow stuff that we would rather push away, all the things that we would rather not know, or that we would rather not embrace about ourselves, and bring them into the boat, we not only do the storms of our life, the raging of our life stop, but we gain courage, and we gain a way ahead. So, friends, my hope for you as we kind of explore the end of this stormy day, on the end of this stormy couple of weeks, at the end of this hopefully at the end of this stormy chapter of our days, or maybe there is more storm yet to come, that you remember what Mark is trying to offer us, and what Mark is trying to tell us, that not only that it's not about waking Jesus up and praying harder. It's that Jesus is in the boat, and there's never really a threat in the first place. And at the exact same time, the monsters of your life, the things that you think that are going to destroy you, the anxieties of your days, that when we can embrace them, they transform not into death. They transform not into loss. They do not suck us down into the deep. But when we encounter them face to face and we let them climb aboard, they actually bring us courage and forward progress and the gift of sitting with Christ Jesus himself. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today. And that as you contend with your storms, we're back to worshiping at 10 a.m. on this Sunday. So it is Communion Sunday. I hope you will come and be a part of our worship here at 282 Rock Street. Please join us and take the Lord's Supper with us as we head into this new month. There is a new parish guide out, our newsletter, which details all the stuff that's coming up in this next month, and which is really incredible. So I truly hope you'll avail yourself of that. If you should be able to find it either both on our website and on our Facebook page here. I think there's a link pegged to it. So please give that a call, give that a look. And with that, it is my hope that you are weathering well all of the storms of your day. All right, my friends, peace and grace to you.